we got to check in on the top quarterback battles across the country, because there is a lot of them. A lot of high-profile institutions with a derby on their hands. And everyone right now, the word you hear, the terminology you hear is we're looking for somebody to separate. Looking for somebody to separate from the pack. And Ohio State is no exception there. And I think for Ryan Day and company there, they got Devin Brown and Kyle McCord, 2 former 5-stars, so it's a first-world problem from the outside looking in. I would be wildly surprised if they don't have a guy heading into the first game of the season. It's a Big Ten game against Indiana, and typically with Ryan Day, this is around the time that they would announce their starting quarterback. Like, we may get off air here and get back on the air tomorrow morning and they would have announced somebody. I don't know. So I think the message I'm trying to send, the sentiment is I think they're very close to picking someone, but Ryan Day keeps on saying he wants someone to separate, and typically you would see that happen in a scrimmage. Would not surprise me in the least if the word we hear out of Letterman Row, Spencer Holbrook and the good boys over there, the company over there, Tim May crushing it over there, Andy Backstrom crushing it over there. If we tune into the intel over there and hear, hey, Kyle McCord had a great scrimmage, and then hours later we hear, oh, Kyle McCord's announced the starting quarterback at Ohio State. I've said before, I think he's the guy for them when it's all said and done, when the dust settles. I also think if it's a tie, like if nobody separates here, if nobody wants to pull ahead and nobody has that defining moment of being the guy at Ohio State, I think the tie goes to Kyle McCord. Been there the longest, has a ton of leadership credibility in that locker room, has a ton of trust in that locker room. I said it before, anytime you wait your turn at a place like Ohio State, I think that just breeds admiration for you. I think that the locker room as a whole is bought into what he's doing. I'm not saying they're not bought into Devin Brown. I'm just saying people know what they're getting in Kyle McCord. And so short of Devin Brown having a phenomenal string of practices and putting together an elite scrimmage, I think he's going to be the guy. I don't think we really know how much of a success this quarterback situation is going to be until week 4 at Notre Dame. That's going to be the first real game for Ohio State where they find out, okay, we got to have a quarterback to go into South Bend and beat the Fighting Irish. We'll see. We'll see if yours truly is actually at that game. We'll find out here as that one gets closer. But that's kind of where things stand right now for Ohio State. I think it's Kyle McCord's job until it's not. But again, we're waiting any day now to get a decision from them. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like the video. We appreciate you in advance for that. Thank you so much. All right, now Alabama. Alabama's a tricky one, man. Alabama's in a situation that they haven't had in a short minute here where Bryce Young was the guy last year emphatically. No question about it. Now, you got 3 cats in the race, but it seems like a little bit between Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, and Tyler Buchner. The buzz is that Tyler Buchner isn't as much a factor right now in the race. And we talked about this a little bit when he announced he was committing. He didn't get any spring football, which you don't fault Tyler Buchner for, but the reality is it's tough on 2 fronts. One, it's tough to win over a locker room, which I think is extremely important at Alabama. I'm not saying I don't like Tyler Buchner there. I'm saying to be the guy at a place like Alabama that takes some real experience. It takes some real time being in practice with those guys, going through workouts with those guys, and you only have a few months to win over the entire team. I think that's a little bit difficult to do, so we talked about that a little bit with Tyler Buchner. But also, I mean, just getting comfortable in a new place. He knows the offense under Tommy Rees, and I think that helps him. I think it makes him a good option for them going forward. But it sounds like just physically isn't quite as much on par with Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe. So for those two, again, that's how I'm seeing this thing right now. That's how it's being talked about, is a 2-horse race. We'll see if Tyler Buchner can find a way back into this thing. But Nick Saban says he wants somebody to force the staff to play them. I love that. I mean, that is a Sabanism at its finest. He says, be so good during your reps at practice that we have no choice but to play you. And I think he's being honest there. I don't think that is Saban speak and he's trying to hold his cards. I think they're waiting for somebody to walk out in a scrimmage, take control of the offense, and look like the man. So even so, we're not getting a ton out of Tuscaloosa to begin with. And I don't think that's a bad call. I think if they go into Middle Tennessee with 2 quarterbacks, I would not be worried in the slightest of an Alabama fan. I think that actually helps you because then Texas has to game plan for both of them. Like, hold your cards as long as you can and keep Texas divided in how they're able to prepare for you. So for Alabama, We'll see what happens there. Again, they're kind of, like I said before, they're waiting for somebody to force them to play them. And it sounds like it's between Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe. But keep an eye on Tyler Buchner as this thing wears on. Now, Auburn is also fascinating because remember, they went to the transfer portal. They got Peyton Thorne from Michigan State. And Robbie Ashford essentially was like, let's roll, baby. Iron sharpens iron. And I love that response from Robbie Ashford. Holden Geriner, according to people close to Auburn, actually had the best scrimmage, may have had the best day of those 3 quarterbacks from this past weekend, I guess, in Auburn, Alabama. But if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm glad they're making it hard on the staff. Would you really want Peyton Thorne just to roll in there and take the job by this point in the year? I mean, maybe part of you would be like, okay, that's great. Peyton Thorne took the job. We got our guy. Let's roll now. But keep in mind, Peyton Thorne, similar to Tyler Buchner, did not get spring practice. Also, he did not get a chance to have, like Tyler Buchner had, a situation where he's joining his former offensive coordinator. Like they're all on even footing here, except for Peyton Thorne having missed those 15 spring practices. So we'll keep an eye on how this thing develops. If I'm an Auburn fan, though, the way I'm reading this is encouraging that you have some guys pushing the depth right now. To have Holden Geriner and to have Robbie Ashford both challenging Peyton Thorne, who I would imagine was brought there to start, who I think eventually will start for Auburn. I think that's a good sign. So if things kind of go off the rails at some point in time, you have 2 other guys that have shown things during fall camp at the very least that you can turn to and say, hey, let's find a way to get this done. We got some options now. Let's get back on track. I think Peyton Thorne will figure it out. I think he's going to be the guy for them come game 1. I think he was brought there to start. But even so, man, the competition in that room is what would excite me if I'm an Auburn Tiger fan. So Ohio State, Bama, Auburn, keep your ear to the ground here. I think we're very close to a decision from Ohio State. Would not be surprised if this Alabama one went into the season by game 2. We didn't get our answer. And then for Auburn, I think we'll know before game 1, but the competition there is encouraging. So should be a lot of fun. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.